to Coin Hedge, everyone, where we stay ahead of the latest cryptocurrency and traditional financial markets and news. Today is November 7th, 2025. I am a financial advisor. However, this is not financial advice. For financial advice, you can visit thecoinhedge.com and book a 1 hour Zoom call with me where we go over your goals, make your plan, and teach you some of the fundamentals of navigating the cryptocurrency space. For example, we go over exchanges and brokers, hardware wallets, top assets, fundamental and technical analysis, LLCs, and more. So, guys, I wanted to come on here today and share my thoughts on where we are in the market cycle. So, what's going on right now in the space is there are a lot of influencers, a lot of major news outlets, even that are publishing a lot of narratives that would make somebody think that we're just getting started in the market and that we've got a long ways to go before the top, or that the top is coming very soon and you've got to get in right now, which induces the fear of missing out or FOMO. And I just wanted to provide some data. You can do with it whatever you'd like, but some data that may help you be a little bit more informed on where we are in the market cycle. So I always compare the current market cycle, or where we are in the market cycle, with sort of this generic idea of the different stages in the market cycle. So accumulation, or the trough, and then we've got the bull or the uptrend, we've got distribution, and then we've got the downtrend or the bear, and then we've got accumulation. So when we look at that, we can sort of identify where we are in that phase, or what phase we're in that market cycle. So what I have on the screen right now is the S&P 500 and the Bitcoin price chart from Bitstamp. And what I've done on the Bitcoin price chart here is taken a time frame from the local bottom to the peak. So there were really two bottoms in Bitcoin, and they followed perfectly with the S&P 500. But the main bottom here was back just before 2019. While the S&P did go on to set a new low, that's almost irrelevant. It's because this was really the beginning of the new market cycle, in a sense. And that the duration of that market cycle was 1,051 days. Okay, and now we fast forward to where we are today. Okay, the beginning of that market cycle, that bottom, which lined up almost perfectly with the S&P, that market cycle was 1,061 days. It's a 10-day difference. It's a 1 bar difference. That's not a coincidence. Okay. And one element to keep in mind is, so these don't match up perfectly, but they do follow along pretty consistently. For example, back when Bitcoin topped in this cycle, the S&P was in distribution and it had a little bit more ways up to go when it did. Okay. So what are we seeing now? We're seeing Bitcoin tops here, right here. And the S&P continues to march up just a little bit more. But by the time the S&P reaches a peak back here, we're already down into a bear with Bitcoin. Okay, so the S&P starts going on a little bit more into its peak. We're already down here. We've already turned over the top. Okay, so just some food for thought there. And it would be another thing if we didn't see all of the major phases in the market cycle, but they're clear as day. We've got the trough, we've got the uptrend, we've got distribution, and we're timing it with what happened last time, where Bitcoin topped and the S&P had a little bit more to go. Bitcoin topped, S&P has a little bit more to go. We're down to the bear. The S&P it might have a little bit more to go, but it should start rolling over. And so when you see headlines, which we'll go over here in a little bit, that we're going to 500K Bitcoin, the S&P still has 6 more months, things like that, you'd think right now would be a really good time to get in. But when we go back to the fundamentals or the technicals, guys, if you decide to buy now, you're buying somewhere in here. Why? The juice isn't worth the squeeze. Okay, so this is kind of where we are. And to make a few more connections, so another narrative that comes into play is that the altcoin market always lags the major market. It's a rotational top, and in a sense, yeah, but it the data kind of says otherwise. You know, we we have Bitcoin right here, and then we've got the total market cap excluding, it's called Total 3, excluding Bitcoin and ETH, and they top at the same time last cycle, and it looks like they topped at the same time this cycle. So what's happening right now is there are a few altcoins that are really utility driven, which is great for crypto, because the narrative around crypto is that it's a scam and that it doesn't serve a purpose, and that is so false. That's such an ignorant opinion, because somebody that would say that just has no idea what they're talking about. Because a lot of these tokens have utility, and the tokens that are actually going bananas right now are utility tokens. They help with payments, they help with privacy, they help with gaming, things like that. So there is a class of utility tokens that are smaller caps that are actually doing really well right now, and we have seen that before. In the later part of the market cycle here. And so we expected to see that. The problem is you just don't know which ones are going to do that. It's really nice to see actually that it is assets, the assets that are utility driven are the ones that are actually going parabolic. So that's a really good thing for crypto. But again, the last thing I want to see is new retail investors get into the space at the top and get sold a bag of goods that are no good and get stuck with the bag and have to wait another 4 or 5 years, or they end up taking a massive loss. And so, what contributes to that? So we have influencers that go online and they say things like this. I keep telling you the biggest parabolic movement is going to start any day now. This is your final warning. Trust me on this. Trust me, bro. With a picture of the Bitcoin price chart going to 500,000. So, yeah, but if you're new to the space, you'd see this person, it's 98,000 views. He has hundreds of thousands of subscribers, maybe even a million, or followers rather, maybe even a million followers or more. And so there are a lot of eyeballs on this content, and it's just not true. The data doesn't support it. I just showed you some of the data. And if that were to happen, then shame on me, but I bet my money that it would not. So, and then you have actual other mainstream narratives too. So JP Morgan now holds 5.2 million Bitcoin ETF shares worth over 343 million, up 64% since June. Rocket ship. So JP Morgan's getting into the game. I've got to get in now. No, this is stereotypical top behavior. Big narratives coming out at the top to drive retail euphoria into the market. Trump family American Bitcoin buys 139 Bitcoin worth 14 million. They now hold 4,000 Bitcoin worth $400 million. Right. That must mean the Trump family's buying it. That must mean it's a really good time to get in. So not political. Talk about politics on our one-on-one if you'd like. But it's that just doesn't mean it's a good time to get in. All these narratives are coming out. Another narrative that's not on the screen, the ETFs. We have all these ETF filings that are supposed to be approved this month. Perfect timing. It's the top. What's going to drive retail sentiment? All these ETF approval potential. No. This is stereotypical top behavior. So just wanted to share that with you guys. It's data. That's all it is, and you can take it or leave it, but I just don't want to see anybody get hurt financially. So some news. So again, this just kind of goes along with supporting what's going on. Neutral, positive, negative. So some of the main things: strategy adds Europe to capital raising efforts, securing $750 million in new preferred stock offering. Great. See, Dogecoin ETF could go live in US soon, but Doge technicals draw a bearish picture for now. Wow. Yeah. I mean, that seems about right. Again, the ETF filings, it's going to drive retail engagement, and they're going to be wrong-footed, and I just really hate seeing it. Zcash, so this is one of the utility tokens. Zcash breaks in the top 20 hit $600 for first time since 2018. Very nice. That's a utility token. It's a privacy token. So that's good to see. Some more out there. I'm looking for some more out there headlines. Institutions are buying into the privacy coin hype, but will it last? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, we're pretty late into the cycle, guys. But one thing that happens, I think, is that people confuse the value of the underlying technology and market cycles. So what happens is the market goes way down in an emerging market, and they think that it's a scam. And number one, that's what happens in emerging markets. It's high volatility. But number two, the utility, it needs time to catch up. And so just because the market changes throughout a natural market cycle does not mean that these assets don't have a function. So I don't want people to get confused with that and think that just because the market's down means that you shouldn't be investing time in researching what all of this is. Because the best time to do it is while it's going down, so that way whenever the market bottoms, you're knowledgeable and well positioned to enter the market. So see another crazy headline. The first three words: buy Bitcoin now or miss out forever, says Standard Chartered crypto guru. Yeah, buy now. Please don't. Do what you're gonna do your own research, but perfect headline to support the crazy narratives that are going on right now. So all right, last but not least, so what I do is I have over 1,000 data points that get pulled automatically to 3 different AIs, and these artificial intelligences have a conversation with one another, and they analyze this data and they spit out a brief or a summary of what they think is going to occur over a certain time frame. So for the daily update to be emailed to you, you go to my Substack, subscribe. I charge a very low fee for that. That gives you a daily update on what AI thinks the market's going to do for that day and the following day. This is the weekly market update. You can tune in every Friday and you can get this information for free from me. I'm not going to read everything to you, but I will go over it briefly. So goes over stock indices analysis. Looks like it's a pretty big chance that the markets are going to be going down at the end of close next week. It's got it at a 60, 65, 65% chance for the S&P, the Dow, and the NASDAQ respectively. So going into crypto asset analysis, looks like BTC and ETH, obviously, 55, 45, 50, 50. So very close. The AI doesn't know what to make of the market right now. In my opinion, the juice is not worth the squeeze. You'd be buying close to the top, especially on those large caps. So very careful there, guys. Total 2. So crypto market cap excluding Bitcoin. Chance to go up 60, 40%. So a little bit better odds there. Driven by some of the utility tokens, payments, privacy, etc. And then total 3, so excluding ETH, even more so 65-35. With that being said, it does give a little bit of a summary here. So utility token overview. So these are some of the tokens that we just discussed, upside downside potential. So utility tokens are surging amid alt season hype, privacy narratives, and real world adoption. For Filecoin, Zcash show massive gains, 70% and 350% respectively. But overextension risks pullbacks. Yeah, because we're late in this cycle, guys. You just saw these massive moves that doesn't go on forever. So other standouts, so Sui, Solana, Velo, and a few others in there. Those are all utility tokens, guys. They all have development activity and they all serve a purpose. So it's really good to see that. It completely wipes out the narrative that crypto is a scam. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything. It couldn't be more false. So some news that can move the markets. So market movers, we have the FAA, traffic reduction. You probably heard about this. So there's an escalation there. So flights are getting cut, especially around the holidays. Not good. Ongoing U.S. government shutdown impacts. So we know this is the longest government shutdown ever. So we're seeing some new dynamics in the market that can create some variables. Looks like it's going to be extended. I don't know what the vote already happened today or if it's about to happen, but there's a vote today, I believe, and it could be extended to November 21st. And then SNAP food assistance benefits adjustments. Partial November benefits may be issued sometime during the week for affected recipients. So some people are going to get some benefits, hopefully, with reductions varying by state and usual amount. So full payments remain suspended amid the shutdown. So most of this is centered around the shutdown. That's the big news right now. So take that for what it's worth. And then finally, last but not least, the U.S. economic calendar for the next week. It looks like we have unemployment, wages, consumer credit, and a few speeches from Fed governors. Let's see. CPI and PPI. So that's over the next week from, let's see, the 7th today to the 14th. So, guys, that's all I have for you today. I'm going to try to keep these videos short so that you can get a lot of content in a short amount of time. I know everybody's busy. Thank you for joining. Please remember, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Visit my website at thecoinhedge.com. Go to my Substack. Subscribe to the newsletter, the weekly or daily market update. Again, you get it for free every Friday. But until next time, everybody, take care. Thanks.